Hi guys, my name is Milan from ibbl Engineering and Consulting. Welcome to our video series introducing the engineering phases in a plant construction project. We need to bring up two remarks at the beginning. The topics of video series is huge and the videos are rather short. So ifs and whens within the engineering phases are not presented. And second, the video shows the plant engineering for a known process within our field of industry, the mineral processing. Meaning, neither the production process needs to be developed from scratch, nor the pilot plant is needed. When speaking about three engineering phases in a plant construction project, let us first name the phases and what the targets are. In the first phase, the conceptual engineering phase, the project shall be outlined technically and commercially. The engineering provides data to decide about further development of the project and to select the plant concept. In the second phase, the basic engineering phase, the selected concept will be defined much more in detail and be prepared for execution. The knowledge of the project increases, the risk for the project decreases. And finally, during the detail engineering phase, the plant is designed for manufacturing and erection. Designers assist in case modifications are necessary. So, let's start from the beginning. The starting point for every project is a requirement. Just as an example, a market study might determine that the company can sell much more of their products. Based on this study, the company management required to investigate the production capacity increase. To do so, the management defines a project and assigns the project manager. Within the project charter, requirements for the plant and conceptual engineering are defined. The project manager needs to answer with providing a specification for the project. For the elaboration, the project manager starts to collect information. At least parts thereof will become project requirements. All this information and requirements needs to be managed. Requirement management means to analyze and then categorize the requirements. This could mean, for example, to split the requirements in demands which are mandatory to be implemented and wishes which are not. Requirements need to be assigned to an engineering phase and prioritized within the phase. The requirements, their fulfillment, respectively the update of the requirements needs to be recorded and tracked. Keep in mind that requirements can change during the engineering. Input information and requirements are necessary to design the plant. In case not all information is available when needed, a usual way is to make assumptions. If you are experienced in your field, you can make well-founded assumptions. During the engineering, these assumptions will be replaced by actual data. The works in different phases shall be executed within a specified time frame and effort. If the requirements are not managed properly, there is a danger to concentrate on points which are not important in the moment. Another reason for requirements management is the development of costs over the project time. In this chart, on the x-axis, the project time is indicated. Y-axis shows the project costs. The green curve shows when the costs are determined. A huge part of the cost is already determined during the conceptual and basic engineering, for example by selecting and placing the main equipment. The orange curve shows when the costs occur. This means when the money is spent. Even the main portion of spending takes place during the project execution, the spending is already planned during the first engineering phases. The curves show the huge impact of focused professional engineering on the project from the beginning. Before we jump to activities during the conceptual engineering, let us see what we want to achieve. As said, the conceptual engineering shall put decision makers in position to decide about the project and the plant concept. To do so, they typically need an estimation of investment and operation cost as well as time schedule. In order to provide this, a functioning technical concept for the plants needs to be developed. Furthermore, a list of project requirements and their status shall be available. In case more than one plant concept was developed, different concepts shall be compared. Please note that this list does not include all possible targets. Examples of additional points are discussion with authorities about the project or risk analysis. The conceptual engineering does not define the plant in every detail, but it is important to know what information needs to be provided with enough accuracy for the decisions. The first activity is to determine the production process. For this, the process steps to get desired products from the raw materials needs to be defined by simulation and calculation. The information is presented in mass and heat balance diagrams as well in process flow diagrams in block form. Based on the production process, the machinery for the main process steps will be selected. The selection of machinery can influence the already established preliminary production process, which has to be updated accordingly. The information is presented in form of equipment data sheets and equipment lists. Another activity is to develop the plant layout. This means to arrange the buildings and machinery to fit the available land, to show the connection to existing facilities and so on. The results of developing the plant layout may have impact on the process design. The information is presented in a form of general plant layout. If needed, general arrangement drawings can be prepared. In this stage, buildings and machinery are presented as outlines or shapes. Based on already engineered data, secondary equipment will be defined. With secondary machinery, we mean, for example, conveying equipment or small dedusting equipment. This has typically no impact on production process itself. The equipment is added to equipment list. The available data will be used to design the first version of electrical power supply system. The electrical system is presented in form of an overview diagram as well as equipment and material list. The plant automation concept has to be established. The systems are presented in a form of overview diagram as well as equipment and materials list. The available data like plant layout, general arrangements and load data as well as information about soil and ambient conditions serve as basis for the conceptual civil design. Typically, the civil works at this stage represented by technical description. With already established data, the fuel, power and utility demand can be calculated. This is necessary for estimating the operation cost. The demands are documented in tabular form. For the investment cost calculation, the costs of engineering, equipment, civil works, erection, commissioning, project management and so on are calculated and combined. Similarly, the operation costs are the combined cost of raw materials, power, water, fuel, personnel and so on. The values will be expressed in a cost per ton of product or similar. In case that cost estimation shows that the plant concept does not fulfill some requirements, the concept should be improved. The data are presented in tabular form. The project schedule developed in this phase is presented on a high level. It presents the main activities and milestones, and it is not critical path method schedule. The time schedule is presented in Gantt chart. The requirement list is updated during the conceptual engineering. Especially important are the points which could not be dealt with during the conceptual engineering and the assumptions. Typically, this information is presented in tabular form. In case more than one variant of the project was investigated, a comparison shall be made. The results are presented in tabular form as well as charts. A report with attachments describing the project will provide the required information for discussion and decision making. The report is of course presented in textual form. The documentation of conceptual engineering will answer the requirements of the decision makers. Now, the project will be discussed and reviewed by them. Generally speaking, there are 3 or 4 possible outcomes of such discussion. The project is accepted and released for basic engineering. Typically, there will be comments on the outcome to be considered in basic engineering. These will be added to the requirements list. Another option is that the project concept is not accepted and needs to be modified, meaning that the conceptual engineering is to be restarted. And the fourth option is to stop the project. We assume that conceptual engineering is completed now and we know how to proceed with the basic engineering. At this point, our first video about the engineering phases ends. We will continue with the basic engineering phase soon. Please follow us to get informed about the new videos. Thank you and have a nice day.